Welcome to the Basketball Fiends Podcast, a proud member of the Argentina Podcast Network. My name is Jesus Sasameda Jr., and with me by my side, well, not literally, but by my side, figuratively and virtually, we can speak and through StreamYard. The way Chicago is Alex Aguilera. How's it going, Alex?
It's going good, man. Trying to think. Well, honestly, nothing's been happening.
What's been happening is that the NBA Finals are going on right now. That's what's happening in your life.
There you go. That's one thing.
That's one thing. Besides life and work and usual, but the NBA Finals are going. They're actually going on right now. Game 1 is going on. We decided to record a little early. We were waiting, but it's getting late. It's a late one. I know in Golden State as well. Like 8. It's like 2 hours ahead because we're in Central Time, right?
Right.
So right now we're both recording. It's 10:19 p.m. on a Thursday night. It should be like 8:19 p.m. in San Francisco at the moment.
Right.
And man, East Coast, you're talking about what? That's what, 12 or no? That's 11. 11.
Yeah, 11. Yep.
Yeah. So we are recording while the game is going on. The game is in the fourth quarter, and it's the Boston Celtics 111, Golden State 103 with 3 minutes and 70 seconds left. Now, we are not going to talk about Game 1 right now, Alex, because the game is still ongoing. It will be unfair to judge, especially how this game has been, and we will get there. But before the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics met in Game 1, they had to go to the conference finals. And that's what our first topic is we're recapping the conference finals. And I think we can just say this has been one of the worst conference finals on both conferences in a long, long time. And I am not the only one that shares that message. That was all across, NBA Twitter. I'm sure you agree too, Alex.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would even say like the playoffs in general this year were just kind of meh, like just kind of mid, just nothing too memorable, I guess, per se. I mean, Western Conference Finals. I mean, the well-experienced Golden State Warriors. I mean, took care of the Dallas Mavericks. They won it in 5. I mean, Dallas got that one. I think it was.
I feel like while you're on there, I was thinking about that earlier, and I was like, I really wanted to see Golden State against Phoenix Suns. I feel like we robbed of that. Like Luka robbed us out there, and that speaks to his greatness, right? That speaks to Luka's greatness, and he said, "Nope, sorry." But yes, back to what you're saying. There have been some good playoff games, but overall hasn't lived up to what we expect from the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Not as many buzzer beaters. There was a lot more blowouts. Even the close games didn't seem as close.
Right.
But the conference finals, for sure, I think that's where we really saw it. There were just maybe 2 close games, and they were both in the Celtics and Heat series. The last game was phenomenal. Game 7, that was, with Jimmy Butler. Whenever he pulled up, I was like, oh my God, this is it. They got the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, they're gonna do this. Props and just clank. And I mean, you could see it as a shooter. As soon as he went down, I was like, oh, has never.
Right. Yeah.
It's never gonna look. Well, at least it hasn't been for me. Whenever I hold that post and not lay it down,
I know, right? Never a good look. So yeah, I mean, granted that Game 7 with Boston and Miami, I mean, I would say that was probably the most, I guess, entertaining game. But even then, it kind of had its moments. But like, especially early on in that series, it was like, okay, Miami blew out Boston in Game 1. Boston came back and blew out Miami in Game 2, and it was just like a little back and forth. I mean, not necessarily throwing, punches, haymakers. It was just like, all right, one dude gets knocked out one game, another team gets knocked out the next. It was kind of like, it wasn't really exciting. Yeah. And then you look at the Western Conference, and I mean, Golden State for the most part just took care of business like they've done in the past. A very inexperienced Dallas Mavericks.
And I want to go back to what I'm saying is that if we would have had the Phoenix Suns and Golden State, I think it would have been a closer series than what it was. Than what the Warriors Mavs series was. That's why I was like, because I the whole season, we were speaking, it's going to be one of them two, and it's going to be the Western Conference Finals. But overall, also something to mention in the conference finals is this was the first year that they handed out MVP trophies for the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. The Eastern Conference Finals called the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which Jason Tatum won. So that was cool that a Celtic won the first one in his honor after Celtics. And the Western Conference Finals is after Earl. Magic Johnson, Irving Magic Johnson, the Western Conference Finals MVP, which went to Steph Curry. So it's good to see that. I feel like they should have always had this some kind of a war, right? Because the Western Conference Finals are sometimes they are better than the actual finals. You
Yeah,
know, like for example, when we had I can't remember like sometimes those Kings and Lakers Western Conference Finals were better than the actual finals. I'm sure there's been other occurrences, but yeah, but I think that's good that the NBA did that.
yeah, I like it. I think they well, I know baseball has done it, probably took a page out of there where um the championship series on the National American Leagues, they'll have their MVPs on those sides. And yeah, like I mean, honestly, like I'm a big fan of playoff baseball. I'm on, well, you guys know I'm a little bit of a baseball guy. So yeah, I think it's kind of cool to see. I mean, making it to the finals, I mean, that's no easy feat. So to kind of, highlight, the guy that was, the most valuable in getting that team there, I think, I think it's cool. It's a nice little touch to it.
It definitely is cool. You know who I wonder if they'll make it back to the Western Conference next season is the Los Angeles Lakers, Alex. And it'll be interesting because they will do it with the first time coach, and that first time coach is Darvin Ham, who they announced earlier this week, or was it last week that he'll be the new Los Angeles head coach. Darvin Ham, a former player. This is how I know I'm feeling. No, Ryan. Now, in a couple of weeks, it is my 39th birthday, so I've been watching NBA basketball for a long
Hey,
time. Hey, still got some time. Still got some time though. Still got about 2 weeks. But Darvin Ham, like I remember watching him play. I because his name always stood out to me, Ham, right? And he was a big body player, power forward, small forward. But he became a coach, and he's had some good stints. He worked a lot with Milwaukee Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer with the Hawks as well when Mike Budenholzer was there. So he comes from a good coaching tree, I guess we can say. And I think he's going to be a good coach for the Lakers, Alex. But I feel like the Lakers may still struggle just because of the current makeup of the team. I think that's more so than anything.
right. I honestly, I feel like everyone is kind of on that same boat as well. Like, I don't expect Darvin Ham to come in and do what Ime Udoka is doing with the Boston Celtics right now. Granted,
Right.
the Celtics were still a very solid team before Ime Udoka got there, but yeah, like I don't expect Darvin Ham coming in and rejuvenizing the Lakers, and all of a sudden, they're the 2020 Lakers where, they're just cruising, and, in the bubble, you sort of see that, dominance of a LeBron led team that we got so used to for so many years. Yeah, I mean, just the makeup of the team, it's it's not successful as we could tell this past season. Just a lot of drama, just not really a ton of chemistry going on, and I don't think Darvin Ham is gonna be the guy to do that in his first season, in time maybe. But once again, it is the Lakers, it is the city of angels, so expectations kind of run pretty high, and in a certain amount of time, like there isn't a lot of patience over there. It's like, hey man, let's get it done because it's championship or bust for them over there.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think for the Lakers, they have to make some moves, plain and simple. And I think the biggest one for them is I think for both parties, I think it'd be best if they trade Russell Westbrook. I think both parties would be good to separate. I don't see them coming together and having a good season. Maybe they make the playoffs with Darvin Ham. Maybe he instills some new belief or just some new motivation, and yes, they make the playoffs because they also be healthier, right? But can he take them to the promised land, which is where we all know LeBron wants to at least visit one last time before he calls it quit. So to me, they're going to have to make some moves, and if they keep Russell Westbrook, they're going to have to still retool that roster to now make it fit.
Right.
And it's also maybe having a conversation with Westbrook, and maybe he plays a different role. Maybe he does play that super sub role, really buys into it. It's also for Anthony Davis too. I think he has to step up. I know he won a title with LeBron James, but I feel like there's still more to him that we haven't seen. Like he has that next gear. Similar to what Jason Tatum did these playoffs. He took that
Yeah.
next level. Like right now, I'll take Jason Tatum over and Anthony Davis because I've seen him take that next step. He led the Boston Celtics to the NBA Finals. He's led them to the Western Conference Finals. Not him by himself, obviously. Jalen Brown as well, but yeah. So I think Darvin Ham has his work cut out for him too.
Yeah.
But I think the first thing is got to retool that roster. I would trade Russell Westbrook, but maybe they want to retry. They will still have to retool that roster. They need a lot more shooters.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like it's like you don't wanna, or at least speaking for myself, it's like I don't want to single out Russell Westbrook because I mean, it's the Lakers have a ton of issues, but I guess if you're looking for that scapegoat, the guy that people just sort of point at, it's Russell Westbrook because I mean, just the expectations of him coming in. This was LeBron and AD's guy, and he kind of sputtered there. And honestly, I think it would just like I think a great point that you make. It would just be best for both sides, just
Mhm.
clean slate. Just like, hey, let's send him somewhere where he can find success in an environment where there isn't all this pressure that comes with the Lakers. So I think that's one route to go. And another thing you mentioned too is like the Lakers need shooters, and they don't really have a lot of shooters. I mean, was that as far
And,
as role players like Avery Bradley, DJ Augustine, I think was
right.
there.
And look, if they get those shooters, and that makes it easier for Russell Westbrook to play his game, and
Right.
that's why he was so successful with the Thunder because they had good shooters around him. While not completely all shooters, but better shooters. So yeah, I think that could solve issue. But I think ultimately, to me, I think they're looking to trade Russell Westbrook. I don't have any inside sources. That's just me. That's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that's the expectation at this point. Just with all the drama, with him
Yeah,
alone, it's like, hey, you might as well just trade him at this point. It looks like you don't want him. It's probably an environment he doesn't want to be in after 1 year. So, and also too, like I don't think the Lakers are really thrilled about paying him what, like 47 mil or something that
right,
he's
right,
owed this upcoming
right.
season. So that's definitely some salary cap space that they would love to free up. And I want to say there was discussions with some teams, but I think they also wanted the Lakers to throw in a draft pick or two, and the Lakers were like not having that. They were like, "Hey, we need we need that draft capital, so we're not giving that up." So
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely. So it's like I say, going back to what I'm saying, I think I want to bring him back to Anthony Davis too. Like I said, I want him to take that next step
Yeah,
because even when he was
absolutely.
with the Pelicans, he was always a good player, right? But he never led them to the playoffs. Like he hasn't really been that guy. He wants he's aimed to be that guy, right? Like that's why he was drafted, but he's never done it. He did it
Yeah,
with LeBron James, but obviously, I mean, you have LeBron James, right? So you have somebody to fall back on, right?
right.
Like I say, I wanted to take that Jason Tatum step. And speaking of Jason Tatum, the NBA Finals Game 1 just finished with the Boston Celtics stealing Game 1 on the road in San Francisco as they defeat the Golden State Warriors 120-108. Al Horford, stand up, sir. Al Horford came into this game and he really led this team in scoring with I'm looking at here 26 points.
Yep.
26 points, 6 of 8 from 3 point, 2 or 3 from 9 or 12 from the field. He just he stepped up because Jason Tatum had just an okay game. He had 12 points. And they have 13 assists. So I like that. While he wasn't able to score, he's like, you know what? Let me still be effective in this game, and that's
Right.
why I bring it back. Like that's the next step that I think
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis needs to make. But yeah, so the Boston Celtics still Game 1. And for the record, before this game started, I had said Boston in 6. Alex, what was your prediction? I think
I
you
had said Golden State in 7.
Golden State in 7. Still, both are still optional. But yeah, so what does this tell us about Boston? Like, we were talking about it before we hit record on this episode. This game was really Golden State was leading a lot of the way. They were going on their Golden State runs. I expected a Golden State win.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I expect the Golden State win today, and I expected Boston to win game 2. Boston said, "You're wrong, Jesus. We're going to steal Game 1."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Thou
right there
will
with you.
steal, said the Celtics.
Yeah, man, and yes, they did. So like, it was funny. Like I'm watching the game, like for first half, and Steph's doing his thing. He dropped like 21 in the first quarter. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, here we go again. But at the same time, it's like, hey, Boston's hanging around. It isn't like Golden State's out into
They
a
were
15,
weathering the
20 point
storm.
lead.
They're just
Right, they're hanging
weathering the
around.
storm.
Like they're down. I remember at one point Golden State went on a little run and they were only up by 7. And I'm like, okay, they went on a little run, but I was like, they're still only down by 7. Like Golden State really wasn't able
It always
to
felt
open the gap.
like Boston was down more than what they actually were.
Yeah, exactly. I was just telling my mom that I was watching the
Yeah.
game with her, and I'm just like, it was a 2-point game, and I'm like, Mom, this doesn't feel like a 2-point game. Like it feels like Golden State should be up by like 10, 12 points, but they're not. Like it was weird.
Because Golden State hit a lot of shots. They were very consistent, and the fans were into it. So it felt like if there were just more points ahead, but it was 7 points, 5 points, 9 points. I think one time it went to 12, but then that's when Boston got on the road. They brought it back down to 2. So, like you said, they were just there, just hanging around,
Yeah.
just hanging around. And then fourth quarter they struck. They
Oh
struck
yeah,
hard. Looking at the quarters, I was just looking at the quarters. That's what stood out to me. The fourth quarter, Boston had 40 points. Golden
mm-hmm.
State had 16. That's the game right there. Essentially, they were
Yeah.
pretty close going into the fourth quarter, but that's the game. Boston just blitzed them in the fourth quarter. 40 points. Here's what's interesting. Golden State is known for their third quarter runs. They went on a run. They had 38 points in the third quarter. Here's the problem, though. Boston, they hung in there. They got 24 points in the third quarter themselves. So, like you said, going back to what you're saying, weathering the storm, just staying within the wave. Never going too deep. Just staying in the wave.
Right.
And now here's the thing for Golden State. Jason Tatum had not a bad game, right? 12 points, 13 assists. I'll take that. Anybody would take that. But talk about he had a bad scoring output. He has to come back game 2, and it's going to change because now if Golden State keeps defending him how they did this game, he's going to have 15 points, 15 assist games.
Right.
Which is perfectly fine for the Celtics. The Celtics will take that because that means that 15 assists, that's points. So the points that Jason Tatum is scoring, he's still producing them somehow, some way.
Yeah, man. And I'll point out one thing too. Derek, I believe it's right. Derek White.
Shout out Derek White.
Yeah, man. He dropped 21 points off the bench. Like that's always good too. So I mean, I guess looking at this Boston Celtics team, I actually want to go back. Remember we talked weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, when Boston was having their issues, and we were saying like,
It was
this
like
Boston
around
team,
January, I think. Yeah.
right. We were looking at this Boston team, and I think the big thing we were talking about was that they didn't have an identity. It's like, what does this Boston Celtics team want to be? And we said like, once they kind of figured that out, like what type of team they want to be, then I think that's when they can start putting it together. And you look at how they played the second half and how they kind of clicked. It was they became this really good, gritty. And I know you love this, a gritty defensive team, and they ended up being the best defensive team in the league. And you definitely saw that in the fourth quarter, like freaking 16 points by the Golden State Warriors. You had Steph drop 21 in the first quarter and ended up with 34. I mean, still a good game overall. But I mean, Draymond, he didn't really do much. I mean, he only had like 4 points. I mean, I know he had a couple rebounds, like 11 or something. So I mean, he was decent there. But other than that, I mean, Andrew Wiggins had 20 points, but they shut him down.
The difference was that Jordan Poole only had 9 points. He hit a couple shots, and I thought he was I think he had like 2 threes back to back. I was like, oh man, here goes Poole. He's about to start, just switching them. But yeah, just 9 points, negative 19 on the night. And it's tough. Like Curry was there, 34 points. Klay Thompson 15, but you need somebody else, and that's where Poole, because Klay Thompson, we got to remember, he's still coming back from injury. You can tell his shot is back. We can tell sometimes his explosiveness is not all the way there. And even this Klay, a lot of teams will take a Klay of whatever percentage he is right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
he's still, but he's still not that elite defender that we're used to seeing. So this is really Curry's time to shine, and he shined with 34 points. But I bet you he'll turn them all in if they can get a victory in game 1 of the finals. So I think this finals could define Curry's career. He has three titles, but he's never won Finals MVP. He's always been outshined in the finals. Whether it was Andre Iguodala in 2015 or Kevin Durant in back-to-back finals. So this is where I think it's his time. I think it's his trophy to lose. I mean, he proved. I thought, like, going back to what you were saying about first quarter, second quarter, I was like, wow, yeah, this is gonna be Steph Curry's final. Like you just
Yeah.
saw, there was one move he had on Jalen Brown. He went behind the back and he just left Jalen Brown. He just
Mm-hmm.
finger rolled it. Like I was like, oof, I was like, yeah, this is his finals MVP to lose. Um, and going into this game, I thought Golden State Warriors had the more offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Uh, the more better shooters, but clearly Boston Celtics made me feel bad that I said that because they have some shooters. Now if they can be consistent, it's gonna be a tough series for Golden State because, like I'm saying, Jason Tatum went for 12 and 13. You know, I think we're gonna see a different Jason Tatum in Game Two, and I think could it be said that Game Two is must win for the Warriors?
I would say yes. I mean, it's the final, so like every game is a must win. But I would, in this case, I think they really need to split the series at least going into Boston, because to be down 2-0, especially at home, and then having to go to Boston Garden, I mean that is a very
Because
hard
even
place to
even if you
play.
win, say Golden State loses Game Two, right? They
Yeah,
go to Boston, they win Game Three. Now you have to win Game Four. I don't see Boston losing twice at home, and then you're
yeah,
looking at being down 3-1, coming
hmm
down, coming back down for Game Five. Say you win
yeah.
Game Five, then it's 3-2. Going back to Boston, Game Six, Boston
hmm
wins. That's our prediction. Boston Celtics in six.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it. Like I'm not mad at it at all. But yeah, I think for Golden State, just to have a little bit of momentum to carry into Boston. But now once I think you make a great point where it's like, all right, we honestly with this game, I'm looking at Jason Tatum. I'm like, yeah, he's not really having a game that we're accustomed to seeing from him. But for Boston to be able to pull out the win, it's like, okay, with Golden State, maybe you kind of really want Gary Payton the second, because I want to say Gary Payton, people getting all confused. It is his son. But this is where you kind of want him to come back as well, because now, hey, it looks like you need another defensive guy to come in and help out, because now it's like, all right, if Boston was able to pull out a win, Jason Tatum didn't have his a great game. Now game
Yeah.
two, he's probably lined up to have a really good game, so you need all the help you can get on the defensive side of things for Golden State.
I mean, Golden State did get Andre Iguodala back. He played 12 minutes and had 7 points, but he's coming back from injury, so they're not gonna just throw him out there. Hey, go guard
True.
Jason Tatum, or so it's gonna be
Right.
gradual.
Throw him out to the wolves. Just say nah,
Right now, having
can't
Gary
do that.
Payton too, having Gary Payton the deuce would have helped a lot tremendously. He's a baller. He's a scrappy player, scrappy to the defender, much like his data. But yes, it's I expect Golden State to not win Game Two. I think Jordan Poole will come back and have a stronger game. I think Curry. I mean, he did 34 points, but he was a -9.
Yeah.
Maybe he get some more assists, get some more gravity towards you and pass the ball. But I do expect Golden State to win. It could be a close game, and let's just say that's one thing I'm grateful for. That Game One was a close game because of how
Yeah.
the conference finals were. That there were blowouts. I was scared that the finals were going to be like that, and that's the worst thing, right? When you have blowouts in the finals, whether it's the NBA finals, the
Yeah.
Super Bowl, or even baseball. Like we want these close games. We want it to just go toe to toe, back and forth.
Right. Yeah, man. It's like you don't want these blowouts by any means where it's just super one sided and you're like, all right, well, why are we even here? It's like, all right, we obviously see that this team's gonna pull it out. But I will say, correct me if I'm well, not correct me if I'm wrong. I'm curious if you had this same feeling, but early on in this first game, I kind of felt like, as far as body language, the feeling that you got from the Warriors, them kind of finding the groove early on. It looked like, all right, we've been here before. We're kind of cruising right now. We may not be up by 20, but we've been here before. We know what it takes to reach the mountaintop, excuse me. And I feel like you kind of looked at this Boston Celtics team and they're able to respond, like going, Steph would hit his patent pending or pad and patent pending patented 3-point patented. That's the word I was looking for. His patented 3-point shot. But Boston would be able to answer right back with a bucket of their own. So I felt like you kind of, once again, for me, it was like I would see Boston. I'm like, man, it looks like they know Golden State's been here before, but they feel they very well deserve to be in this position, and they obviously showed that coming out with a game 1 victory, and I think now it's Golden State will come back in game 2 and be like, all right, we thought we had that, but now let's come back and be for real now. And I think Boston has to be ready for it. But I think now Golden State has gotten that little wake up call where it's like, all right, they're the favorites, but hey, this Celtics team looks like they're no joke.
I definitely felt a little like there was like a hubris from the Golden State Warriors, kind of like like yeah, okay, we got this, almost because they were rolling so much,
Yeah,
and it felt, going back to what I said, it felt like they were up more than what they actually were.
yeah,
And it was due to the shots they were making in the crowd, and the crowd for every shot was just like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. We won, right? So it felt that way. And Golden State, I saw a little bit of that in the Curry and Green, and because they were making these plays, and like we've been here before, right? Act like you've been
yeah,
there before. So they were like, yeah, they were acting like that. But I think Boston, maybe they were a bit shook. It's the first finals. So I think
right,
all the players switched, but they still hung in there. Still
right.
hung in there. And then finally in the second half, especially
Like they
like
settled in
they
essentially.
settled in, especially by the fourth quarter. They're like, oh, it's just a game. I've been playing this game like my whole life,
Right.
right? Let me just shoot them out.
Hmm.
So yeah, but that's all. I like the point you said. I think coming into game 2, which was Saturday, right? Saturday.
Saturday or Sunday? That was
Is it
Sunday.
Sunday? I could be wrong. Let's see. ABC preview. Let me see. I thought it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Sunday. My bad. Oh, that's good. They're giving them time. That's one thing we should talk about in the playoffs. There were too many games. They should have given them a little, like, an extra day between travel days or something, because that's why a lot of injuries start racking up.
Yeah,
That's another topic for
true.
another day. But no, yes, it's I expect Golden State to come back, and that's why I say I expect them to come back and win, because I think they're gonna see what they did wrong. They're gonna now take Boston serious.
Right.
They're like, now that's a team on that other side. They can beat
Hmm.
us. So now they're definitely going to take it serious. So yeah, I think both of us are saying Golden State will win game 2 and will heading to Boston. The series will be split, and then I think game 3 is Wednesday or
Believe so. Yeah, cause as well the game 2 is Sunday. So yeah, probably Wednesday for that day of travel.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Cause yeah, cause Thursday seems way too far for game
Right?
three.
It seems like too spread out.
Yeah.
Here's the NBA schedule. Let's check it out. Why don't we just go to the NBA schedule?
Right.
Uh, yeah,
Duh.
so Wednesday, we are correct. Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Wednesday. So next episode, we'll be recapping game 2 and 3 and seeing where the series is. And then that Friday, it'll be when the next episode, when you find listeners to the next episode, we'll be also previewing game 4, which will be a pivotal game. Uh, but now for our last topics in the last couple of minutes here, we do have some not breaking news, but huge news, I guess you can say. Sad news, kind of hard to get into this topic just because I don't know. I usually write things down, but I want to just come off the top of the dome. This fresh haircut that I just got, got to show it off.
I- It's nice,
It's nice, right? It's nice, fresh. I had to do it. But no,
clean.
the news to our faithful listeners is that the Basketball Fiends, we are closing the chapter on the Basketball Fiends, Alex. Just over the past couple of months, our lives and professional lives have become a lot more busier. We haven't been able to give 100% to the Basketball Fiends, which we know that it deserves. And so we are gonna be doing episodes all the way up to the NBA Finals. So I estimate we have about, after this one, anywhere from 2 to 3 episodes left, right? Depending on how the finals goes, which I think it'll go at least 6 games. I think you said 7, so we're right around there, right? But yes, so we are coming to an end of the Basketball Fiends, Alex.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been quite a journey. I think looking back from when we first started to where we're at now, I mean, we started off. We didn't know we existed for the good part of our lives, and all of a sudden it was just like, hey, you want to do this basketball podcast? It's like, sure, why not? I believe we were both unemployed at the time. I was very much fresh out of out of school. Pandemic was just getting started, and I'm pretty sure we're on the same boat. I was just like, I don't know, I need to do something, and luckily you came around. This podcast came around, and all of a sudden, 2 years later, I mean, it's coming to a close. But man, since then, just where we were at our lives then till now, it's kind of crazy how much has transpired in the 2 years we've done this.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's been a fun getting to do this. I've always wanted to get into the podcasting game, and now I've definitely, more than dipped my toes. I swam. We're 58 episodes in. I think by the time we finish, we'll get what, like maybe 62. It's not bad. It's not a bad run for two people who have never done a podcast before. On the sport that I love, my favorite sport. So it definitely was something that was fun. But this isn't goodbye yet. We still got, like I said, maybe 2 3 episodes left. Maybe we'll sneak one last episode in as a final au revoir to our faithful listeners. And many thanks to Arskina for having us. For letting us do this. Like I said, this isn't goodbye. We will be coming back. We have 2 3 episodes left. We still got the NBA Finals to go. My pick is Boston Celtics in 6. Alex says the Golden State Warriors will win in 7. So we'll find out what happens. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to come back. See ya.
Deuces.